Guys, I have been so excited to make this video. I legitimately cannot believe how many good players are dogging on Angela saying she's not great. Like, I honestly have no idea what they're on. Like, Angela's a 4-star hero for a reason. She's not an equip and profit kind of a hero, but holy cow, once you've got her dialed in, you can do some seriously absurd stuff. And I find some enemies, they might even enjoy it a little bit. Like, as you're flying towards them, they're like,
okay, here are the ground rules. You can punch me, kick me, pull my hair. I am A-OK being stabbed.
But contrary to popular belief in the YouTube community, Stabby Mommy is real, and Stabby Mommy can hurt you. Also, her KO notification is sick. As with all of my guides, I didn't actually start editing this video until I was well over 20 hours on Angela. I had her to the Lord status. And so I think it's really important to spend time with a hero, take them through the trenches. That's why you don't see day one guides from me. I take time because I want to learn the ins and outs. Now, because of that, I have a lot of information in this video that I don't think has been covered much, if at all. So I'm going to have tips in here that are going to have a serious impact on your performance in matches. There's some secret tech going on under the hood that you need to know about that I haven't seen published or talked about much, if at all, out there. So my main goal with this video is that you're going to learn some stuff that you did not know. Okay, I always like to start my guides with a quick summary of a hero's core gameplay loop. There's really two analogies that I keep coming back to personally. First, I like to think of Angela as a sewing needle. Okay, she doesn't just hang out in the middle of the brawl usually, but instead she's coming from outside the fight. She's weaving her way into the fight and going straight through and out the other side. And then she loops around and she approaches again from a different angle and cuts right through the center again and out the other side. Now, you see me doing this a ton in the background gameplay throughout this video. You'll see here with these two clips against enemy storms, I fly right through the fight and I basically take the storm with me to a peripheral location and I put her down lightning fast, pun absolutely intended there. It's the sewing needle, right? Looping around, cutting into the main fabric of the match and coming out the other side. The other helpful thing I think about is to think about Angela as a hazard of the map. Okay, she's less like a hero that's just there in the fight. She's more like an environmental hazard that disrupts the fight on a regular basis with the goal of setting her teammates up for success or capitalizing on damage her teammates have already done. She's the best displacement hero in the game, there's no question. You'll see me carry an enemy tank or a healer all the way from their team over to my front line so my teammates can eviscerate them while they're stuck to my pole like a kebab. You'll see me pick up enemies and carry them directly into my teammates' ultimate abilities. Into their penny nests, like this poor Thor who tried to ult his way out of this situation to no avail. And of course, I'll also be carrying a ton of heroes off the map as well. We'll definitely unpack the specifics of how to do all of this and more in the video, so let's dive into her kit one piece at a time and then tie it all back together. The first thing we need to talk about with Angela is her attack charge meter. Okay, managing this meter is the most important variable in your personal game. If you can't maximize the meter, then your effectiveness will drop considerably. The more charge you have built up, the more damage you will be able to do. Your spear consumes all of your current charge at once for one big attack. Your axes take a couple of swings to expend all of the energy. There are two main ways to charge this meter: flying forward and blocking damage with her shield. Those are the two things that will help you accumulate energy in your attack charge meter. But there's also a secret way to turbocharge your attack meter, and I have not heard a single person talk about it. But when you use your shift ability, Assassin's Charge, which we'll break down in detail here in a minute, but when you use her Assassin's Charge to skewer an enemy and carry them through the air, you will double the amount of attack charge you gain while you move forward with an enemy stuck to your spear. So if there's an enemy on it, you double your energy gained. That's extremely important to know because it changes the way that we approach fights, especially from the air. And we'll talk about that later because it's a huge deal when we break down the numbers when it comes to core combos. But notice how a lot of times I'll open a fight with a fully charged spear attack, then I'll go right into a charge and carry the enemy away. And during that charge, I will nearly fill my attack meter to full, and I'll exit the charge with a second big spear attack. So more on that later. But gaining attack charge and spending it properly is a big factor in playing Angela well. So this spear does terrible damage at base, and there's so much downtime in between attacks. You're like, poke, poke, poke is really, really bad. But here's the thing. If you have full attack charge metered, you will be doing 105 damage with your spear when you attack somebody with that full charge. So the more charge you have built up, the more damage you do. The spear consumes all of that charge at once for one big attack. So when you have it maxed out, not only do you do max potential damage with it at 105, but you also do this knock-up effect, which is a big deal. We'll talk about why. But suffice it to say, you want to make sure you're attacking someone with full charge. That's actually where I differ from some other creators who suggest a melee animation cancel sequence that burns your shield charge. I'm going to actually modify, that in the combo section. My problem with that sequence is that it helps you get 2 small damage swings in quickly, but it's 2 crappy attacks plus a standard melee mixed in, which is decent damage, right? But it's a lot of inputs for pretty little payoff. I think we're much better off having specific big damage attacks, generally speaking. All right, let's move on to movement. Angela has 2 movement modes. Her default mode is flight mode, where she has extremely fast forward movement, like a knight in a jousting competition. You have some lateral movement, but you're really like a charging steed. While in this flight mode, you'll have your seraphic spear out, and that will be what you attack with, is your spear. Angela also has an ability where she drops to the ground, pulls out dual axes for a more berserker-style attack pattern, where she attacks much more quickly. But she's slow on the ground, that's the trade-off. She's more mobile while airborne. So Angela can reshape her Ichors into 3 different forms. There's the spear, dual axes, and the shield. Let's start with the spear. The spear basically does trash damage. Like I said earlier, it does 105 damage with a full attack charge meter and a knock-up effect. So you definitely want to make sure that you're attacking with at least some charge. So as you're flying, you'll naturally charge up this attack, but once you throw that attack, your charge goes back to 0 and you have a weak spear again. So you don't want to get into these long fights with your spear. That's not really what it's designed for. This makes Angela really good at zipping in and out of fights that her teammates are having and tossing in this massive 105 damage attack into the mix that interrupts what the enemy is doing with this knock-up debuff. So in a lot of gameplay, you'll see me doing that. I'm zipping from fight to fight, just throwing in a huge attack that helps my teammates out and it helps them win their fight, and I move on to the next one. That knock-up effect also disrupts ults from time to time. If someone pops their ultimate right as you hit them, like if Thor says, behold, or whatever, and then you stab them, it just cuts it off. They'll go back down to 50% charge, and you'll have potentially saved someone on your team from an unfortunate death. So if you're ever confused about what you should be doing, just remember that you can be a sewing needle, zipping in and out of the main fighting area and tossing in huge, fully charged attacks as you pass through. But while we're on the topic of spear attacks, we need to talk about the Assassin's Charge, okay? When you hit shift, you activate this ability where you soar through the air at a faster speed, but with less horizontal maneuverability. You have an energy bar for this dash on screen, so you know how much you have left. Now, Angela is super fast. You usually don't need to use this dash to get out of trouble, but sometimes you will if you really just need to get out of there. Other times you might use it to catch up to an enemy that's escaping. But most of the time, you're going to be using this as a displacement tool. You want to get someone out of position. If you collide with someone while dashing, you'll impale them on your spear and carry them with you wherever you choose to fly. This impaling effect has 3 main purposes. First, it's to pick up an enemy, maybe a Vanguard, hit them from behind or from the side, and bring them over to your front line so you can all shoot them together and delete them, right? It's like being an Amazon delivery man. You pick somebody up, you bring them to your team, you guys kill them. This helps break stalemates like this one here with this Magneto. We couldn't get through the choke point, so I go up and over, stab the Magneto, bring him over to our side, and we drop him, and now we're free to take some space, and we end up capping the point because of it. The second main purpose is to immobilize an otherwise really evasive hero and allow your teammates to kill them while you just hold them on your spear. This is how we take down Black Panthers, Spider-Men, enemies like that. The third main use is to reposition your enemy and force them into some kind of hazard. Okay, this could be carrying them into a penny nest, could be flying them into a Moon Knight ultimate or a Scarlet Witch ultimate, or it could be to carry them off of the map. Lots of maps have places you can drop enemies into holes and get kills. I should also note that you can also use the Assassin's Charge to get an enemy away from the safety of their own abilities. So you could carry Groot away from his walls, carry Penny out of her nest, carry one of the healers away from the other healer so they can't just heal each other and negate your dive. But one super important part of using this Assassin's Charge well is following it up by using Angela's enormous physique to body block the exit so your enemy can't just run back to their team. So you carry them away to a separate room, and then you stand in the doorway and you don't let them leave. Okay? Your body as Angela is one of your best assets, partially because she's a dime that ate its Wheaties, but also because she takes up so much space that she's really hard to get around. So the girl got girth. You better use it to your advantage. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can also gain double the attack charge while doing your Assassin's Charge if you have someone skewered on your spear. So if a guide doesn't talk about this, the guide's dang near useless. I'm just saying. That means it's a huge missed opportunity if you Assassin's Charge someone while you have a full attack meter. Okay, this is important. Pay attention, right? It's a missed opportunity if you use Assassin's Charge while you have a full attack meter. Okay, if you plan on skewering someone, you should almost always use your spear attack right before you charge them. Fly right up to them, stab them with the spear to use all of your currently accumulated energy, then skewer them and fly away, and as soon as the charge ends, you stab them again. If you travel the full duration of the charge with someone skewered, you'll end the charge with a full attack meter. Okay, that means the full combo, if you attacked initially with a full charge, will have done 240 damage. Are you freaking kidding me? That's 104 damage for the full initial attack. That's 30 damage when you skewer them. You fly through the air, you refill your meter, and then when you end your charge, you hit them again as soon as it ends for another 105 damage plus a knockup. That's 240 damage. That's why I'm like, bro, please, no. When people are recommending that you do the primary attack, shield, melee, animation cancel, and then immediate spear attack. Like, sure, that's a lot of inputs to get you, some decent damage. But in general, you shouldn't just be using the spear to poke enemies. That's crappy damage. And it sidelines your mobility, which is your lifeline. When you have the spear out, you're not a brawler, okay? So don't try to just sit there in melee fights with your spear, just poking people like bink, 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 terrible damage. Now, I said you almost never want to skewer someone without stabbing them first. Let me mention the one exception to that rule. The one exception is if you mean to carry someone off the map. Okay, many heroes have dashes, lunges, temporary flight abilities, web zips, lots of ways to get back onto the map if they get carried off. So if you intend to carry someone off the map, that's what you're going for in that moment, then save your attack charge. Don't use it initially before the charge, okay? If you burn your full attack charge before skewering someone to carry them off the map, then you run the risk of not having the full charge ready when you finish the charge, okay? It's only like if you're right up next to them and you start that charge and you travel the full duration, that's the only way you get your full charge back during that charge. So I would just say play it safe, keep your attack charge, do the assassin charge and skewer them, and carry them to the edge of the map, and then while they're over it, then you follow it up with a fully charged spear attack, because it's going to do the knockup ability, which will disrupt any movement ability they try to use to get back onto the map. Okay, so that's the one time you want to save that attack charge and use it at the end of the attack to secure the environmental kill. But if you're not going for an environmental kill, then never save your spear attack until after the charge. You want to open with it, then charge, and then use the spear again in order to maximize your potential damage in that fight. One other massive utility of the Assassin's Charge is the ability to interrupt enemy ultimates. Okay, so I cancel out Scarlet Witch ults, Iron Man ults, literally any ult that can be CC'd. So keep an eye on the background gameplay. You'll see me disrupt several ultimates during these clips. Okay, let's move on to Angela's ground game in the form of her ability called Divine Judgment. This is your E ability on PC. On command, you drop straight down to the ground, whip out 2 axes. These axes attack much faster than your spear. You'll perform a melee combo with 4 attacks. The first 3 attacks deal 30 damage, and the last one deals 50 damage for a total of 140 damage in the combo. But when you drop to the ground, you also create a large AoE pool at your feet. It's sort of like a hollowed ground. It's like this glowing golden color. That AoE pool does continuous small ticks of damage to the enemy inside of its radius. Any enemies caught inside it will take constant damage. And Angela also gains increased movement speed while standing in it. And importantly, she also generates 30 bonus health with every swing she lands while standing in this hollowed ground. What's cool about this is that you will also generate bonus health for any allies who are standing in the radius as well when you land those hits. So it's a great way to bail out your healers or your vanguards. If they're being attacked, you drop the zone on them and you start hitting the enemy. And not only do you do damage to the enemy, but you also give yourself and your teammate extra HP to survive the encounter. Now remember that I said Angela's large body makes her really good at body blocking? Okay, if you activate your Divine Judgment and you drop to the ground and pummel someone, try to shove them into a corner where they can't leave the fight or get out of the hollowed ground. That's an ideal use of this ability. But one thing that's super important to know about Angela's axe attacks is that they can also be enhanced by your attack charge meter. So if your attack charge meter has some energy in it, your axe attacks will consume that energy and apply extra damage to your swings. But if your attack meter is full when you attack, then you'll actually get 2 massive 75 damage swings back to back that consume the entire meter in exchange for big chunk damage. So you may want to weigh the risk and reward here when you're swooping on an enemy. I see most Angelas, they'll attack with the spear and then they'll activate Divine Judgment and go to the ground with 0 attack charge and start meleeing because they just used all their attack charge on the spear attack, which at best is 105 damage. But you may want to save that attack charge, okay? Don't attack with the spear. Just drop to the ground with full attack meter and then do 150 damage in 2 very rapid back-to-back swings. Boom, boom, 150 damage. Just more, obviously, than 105. It's also more than the entire combo does on its own without any attack charge, right? Which is 140. So if you get the full combo off with a full attack charge meter initially, you'll go 75 damage, 30 damage, 50 damage. That's 230 damage in one quick combo. It's a ton of damage. And meanwhile, your hollowed ground will have been ticking away the health of the enemy that you're attacking at the same time that you're doing your combo. So you've probably just done somewhere around 275 damage all at once. So again, I just come back to my opening statement about Angela. She's a 4-star hero, but there's a ton of nuance here, okay? Using her well means understanding what you can do with her and choosing the right course of action in the moment based on your current context. So, if you know you're going to go to ground on an enemy and you have a full attack charge meter, it's actually more optimal not to open with a spear attack, but instead to just drop to the ground with that full attack meter. And by the way, while you are brawling with your axes, raise your shield in between combos to mitigate damage that's coming in, but also because, like I mentioned earlier, that damage that hits your shield charges your attack meter, so it buffs your axes as well. We'll talk more about the shield in a minute. Now, Angela really thrives when she spends most of her time in the air, not on the ground. So as soon as someone leaves your hollowed ground, or a pocket healer shows up to offset your damage, reactivate Divine Judgment and shoot back up into the air and fly away with your fast airborne movement speed, and that'll begin your 12-second cooldown to your next Divine Judgment attack. Now, we got to talk about the shield, and I'm going to differ from a lot of other YouTubers here. You've likely heard others tell you that the shield is really good when you use it primarily as a means of attack animation canceling, so you can get rapid spear attacks in. I'm going to tell you that I think that's a poor use of the shield. The shield has so much utility. Since you're so mobile, you'll be spending a lot of time dropping on healers or poke heroes, and almost all of them have a way by design to buy themselves time when someone dives on them. I know these melee animation cancel combos you're seeing in the practice range look really good in a vacuum against a Luna Snow bot that just stands there and doesn't do anything, but that's not how the game actually works. It's not practical application of her kit, okay? Think of this, you know, Black Widow has her stun kick grapple, Hawkeye has his sword knockback attack, Hela has her orb that sucks you into it, Mantis has her sleep grenade, Luna has her snowball. You get the idea. Now, you can't spam the shield. You have a 2-second cooldown whenever you lower the shield before you can raise it again. So you really want to be intentional about when you use it. I make sure that I raise it just after my initial damage against any enemy with a stun ability, like the ones I just mentioned, right? Bait out that ability and then drop the shield and begin attacking again. The Thing and Bucky are also suddenly extremely popular choices as well in the current meta, so I use the shield in duels near or against the Thing to block every heavy punch he throws, since they ground me, right? If he hits me with a heavy attack, it sends me to the ground, knocks me out of the air. So the shield is your primary way of saying no thank you to Angela's one major counter, which is CC abilities. A good Angela is the one who times her shield uses to offset the many CC abilities so she can have uninterrupted freedom of movement. But there's one more major layer to the shield, and that's the fact that the shield generates attack charge when damaged. This is how I absolutely dumpster on Iron Mans and other enemies with continuous damage attacks. The shield can block 350 damage before being broken, so a lot of times I'll fly up to an Iron Man, I'll hit him with a fully charged spear attack for 105 damage. Then he'll instinctively start firing his chest beam to protect himself, and that's when I just raise the shield and I let him use his entire magazine to break my shield. But that means he's got to reload, and he just fully charged up my attack meter for a second time without me flying forward, right? He charged it up for me. Even if he tries to fly away, now I just hit him with a second fully charged 105 damage attack again, and it will do the knock-up effect and disrupt his flight. So he's legitimately cooked. Any enemy that does continuous damage is a prime target for this strategy. Iron Fist, after a block, will go into a super fast punchy mode. Just stand there, block it all, and supercharge your counterattack. This works against Star-Lords, Moon Knights, tons of heroes that basically aren't poke heroes. So while other creators are encouraging you to use the spear attack and then raise the shield to animation cancel to go into a melee attack into another spear combo, right? I'm actually going to suggest you save your shield for better uses, like denying CC abilities and supercharging your massive damage attacks while mitigating incoming damage and forcing reloads. The last thing I'll mention about the shield is that it's a great ult counter for many ultimates. I'll use it to block Scarlet Witch ults if I know I can't skewer them in time. It'll just break the shield, but I'll survive the attack with no damage bleeding through, just like Captain America's shield. I'll fly up and I'll hold the shield right in Magneto's face while he's trying to drop his bomb on someone. And I'll tank the entire ultimate with my shield so no one else gets hurt by it. Heck, I'll even fly up to a Hela in her ult, and I'll shove the shield in her face, and I can only take a couple of hits before it breaks the shield, and then I have to move. But when I do that, I'm usually creating just enough time for my teammates to get to safety or to shoot her down, either way. The shield has insane utility, so make sure you're using it in moments where it can provide the most value to you, right? Quick disclaimer though, the shield does not stop attacks that physically move you, okay? It'll stop projectiles like, Luna Snowball and the others that I mentioned earlier, no problem. But it won't stop a Wolverine from tackling you or another Angela from skewering you. If the ability physically displaces you, then it will work through your shield, so just keep that in mind. Okay, now we gotta talk about her ultimate ability called Heaven's Retribution. This ability is so freaking cool, but people misuse it or misunderstand its purpose. It is primarily a control ultimate, not a kill ultimate. And yes, you can and should get some kills with this ultimate, but its primary function is to immobilize a good portion of the enemy team, sometimes all of them. On activation, you throw a spear into the ground where you're aiming, anything near that spear when it impacts will get grabbed by these celestial ribbons that tether the enemies to the spear so they can't move too far away from it. You can hit the ultimate button a second time, and then you'll leap to the spear and throw down this your hollowed ground inside of it and start using your axes, just like Divine Judgment, okay? This doesn't require you to have Divine Judgment cooled down, by the way. It's a free use of that ability. Now, some important things to note. The spear can be destroyed. If your enemies target the spear, they can break it pretty quickly and get out of there. Also, this isn't a big damage dealing ability. You'll deal a nice chunk of damage when you leap to the spear, but it's really about immobilizing enemies, not doing a ton of damage to them with the ultimate itself. So you may want to use it as a team up ability, like I use it here with my Moon Knight. This is my brother-in-law. I told him I was going to use my ultimate to lock down some enemies, and that he should drop his ultimate on their heads. So we pulled it off, worked out really, really nicely. It works in conjunction with a ton of alts. Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, honestly, just a ton of DPS alts can combo with this very, very effectively. So make sure you signal that you're about to use your ultimate so your DPS teammates can prep for it and be ready to capitalize on it. I like to use this ultimate to also sideline enemy healers if I'm not able to, even if I'm not able to get a kill with it, right? If I find the healers out on the edge, I'll often drop the ultimate on them just to lock them down so they can't be useful to their teammates, right? Then I'll just double back and help my team take down the enemy front line in those precious seconds where I know their heroes or their healers are locked down, they're sidelined. I've also used this ultimate in overtime to lock down healers on their way back to the point. This helps delay them from getting to the point with their support ultimates. In general, it's a great ultimate for keeping enemies off the point and out of areas that you want to keep control of. Alright, that is her whole kit. Let's talk about ideal application. Angela, to me, has two main purposes. One purpose is displacement, the other is finishing what your teammates started. So you want to be flying around the map in sort of these wide sweeping loops and figure eights during your matches. You're cutting into the heart of the map from the sides or behind, and almost never from head on. That's important. Angela doesn't have a ton of HP, and you don't want them to physically see you coming if you can help it. When you make your cuts, you'll have to decide if displacement is better, if that's the better option, or if throwing a heavy attack and continuing on your way is the better play. Here, for example, I go on the flank, I cut in, only to find my teammates have seriously injured this Moon Knight. He's now broken line of sight from the rest of my team. He's safe. He's waiting to be healed by his teammates. But since I made a wide sweep, I now have a full attack charge, and finishing what my teammates started is quite easy. I throw the heavy attack, he dies, I move on. You'll get a ton of kills like this, honestly, where you just throw a fully charged attack at something and it dies. Because your teammates aren't idle while you're making your sweeps. They'll be throwing damage downfield, and you'll often be like right where you need to be to ensure that an injured enemy doesn't have time to reset, and you'll pick up that kill. After you make your cut into the heart of the map, you'll exit, and you'll find your way to a health kit if you got damaged, and top yourself off and make another cut. Generally speaking, Angela should be her own healer most of the time. Be your own medic, okay? Since you're making these cuts, you won't be standing right in front of your healers, so make sure you use your speed and your freedom of movement to heal yourself almost every time you need it, so your healers can be free to focus on the actual front line and keeping them up. They'll be a lot more exposed than you are. So your goal is to make your cuts as frequently as possible, no downtime, no hanging out in the wings, because every second you aren't actively engaged is a second your team is short-handed. The best Angelas are the ones who make their presence known and felt constantly. Now, sometimes when you cut in, you'll see an opportunity to displace an enemy. This could be catching a healer off guard and shoving them off the map really quick, or it could be finding an enemy that's just a little bit isolated, and then you carry them away to a room or a side area where they aren't in eyesight of their healers anymore, and you can body block their exit and eliminate them. But you might also see an opportunity to grab an enemy tank that's just not dying, and carry them like an Amazon package straight to your front line where your team can easily nuke them before they can get back to the safety of their team. I do this a lot to break stalemates. You might also see an opportunity to skewer an enemy that would otherwise be able to avoid damage, right? I mean, enemies like Wanda, who would usually just turn into a ball and fly away, or Spider-Man. But if I skewer them and I steer them towards my team, they can damage her or him or whoever, for free for a couple of seconds while I've got them immobilized on my spear, and they can't just web zip away or turn into their ghost form. Same thing with Cloak and Dagger, who usually turns into Ty and then vanishes and flies away. But if I skewer them and steer them towards my team, it creates an opportunity to nuke them before they can use their escape ability. Angela is a team player, okay? She's not like a solo dive hero. If you're playing her like that, you are wasting her skills. To be a good Angela means to be cognizant of your teammates, where they are, what they're doing, what they're capable of doing, because your skill ceiling is so much higher. What you can obtain, what you can do, what you can accomplish is so much greater if you play off of your teammates and if you tee them up for success. You can't be a selfish Angela and be a good Angela. Those two things are mutually exclusive. Angela is about control and domination, which some of you get down with, I'm sure. Freaks. I kid. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. But if you're playing Angela well, then the enemy team will likely find you obnoxious and feel somewhat helpless at times. That's the goal. Okay, remember to use that shield to mitigate not only incoming damage, but to say no thank you to CC abilities. You're the one who dominates, not them, so prove it. And that's the guide, y'all. I really hope you enjoyed it and you learned something new. If you made it all the way to the end, be sure to let me know in the comment section that you did so I can leave a heart on your comment just to say thank you so freaking much. Hopefully you found it both entertaining and insightful. Remember, spear-spear for the most chunk damage possible. Drop to the ground with a full attack charge meter when possible for that nasty 275 damage combo. And importantly, peel for your healers because you are extremely well suited to it. Okay, that's a task that Angela was tailor-made for. Spider-Mans are easy kills for Angela. So easy. And with that, I say thank you so much for watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, would you let me know by leaving a like on the video, as it is the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube. And be sure to let me know what hero you'd like me to cover next. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.